Hey everybody, Amer back with another Mission Impossible episode review. This time I'm doing Season 5, Episode 8, which is called Decoy. So this episode starts with brother and sister Alexei and Anna Kirkoska arguing over their predicament. Their father was their country's ruler, but the new regime plans to purge all remnants of it, including them. Alexei wants to kill himself rather than be purged, and dismisses Anna's idea of going to the American embassy for help, unless perhaps she produces the secret list of U.S.-friendly officials and agents their father gave her before she died. Anna says she'll do it, and Colonel Petrovich enters the room as she leaves, congratulating Alexei on finally convincing her to produce the list. Jim uses some spy speak to get his instructions at a campsite. The mission is to get the list and get Anna out of the country safely. So we get the usual team at an apartment scene, including Willie, and I'm very happy to see that Leslie Warren made it in time to get proper wardrobe and hairstyling this time. Barney and Willie enter the country with some car parts, Paris as a tourist, and Jim and Dana as American publishers, although Dana's kind of separated from this. You'll see why. Paris goes to a funeral parlor, wanting to make arrangements for a revolutionary named Marcus Danov, asking for Anna and Alexei to attend. Shortly after, Paris gets dressed as a janitor and finds Anna on a park bench being watched by some men. He tells her to go to a phone booth for instructions for a trip over the border, and Barney tells her to be prepared and to remember Danov's name. Barney and Willie start assembling the car parts and are joined at their warehouse by Dana. Meanwhile, Anna arrives home for a reception, finding Alexei talking to Jim about some kind of book deal. She tells Alexei about the call she received. Jim and Anna hit it off. Paris arrives with a note to be passed to Jim, which is first read by one of the surveillance men, who reports it to Petrovich. Apparently, it indicates that Jim's sister has been kidnapped, and Jim receives a call, which is traced, which of course comes from Barney and Dana as Jim's sister, for the benefit of the trace, telling him to go to a record shop the next morning, and the call trace leads nowhere. Meanwhile, Petrovich's men put a bead on Paris as well, because they figure he's obviously an American agent. Jim goes to the record shop where Paris is waiting. They stage a conversation, which Petrovich overhears, where Paris, as the American agent, tells Jim to get Anna to write a book about her father and mention Danov. Petrovich tells Alexei play along with their plan. The next day, Paris is tracked by the security men, but quickly turns a corner and darts behind a big box that Willie is loading for a quick costume change to throw them off his trail, enraging Petrovich. That afternoon, Jim presents the offer to Anna, and they walk the grounds for a while, and she talks about how her father had been a terrible husband, a terrible ruler, but she always felt he was a good father, and she loved him. Awesome television minutes are spent of them talking about their feelings until Anna confesses to him that she and her brother plan to defect, which is overheard due to the bug in her purse. Jim tells him about his sister and says he cares about Anna and wants to help her. He wants everything to work out for all of them. Barney and Dana call Jim at the Kirkoska home again, telling him to look at the obituaries in the newspaper, and Jim finds the Danov funeral information, tells the Kirkoskas to attend the funeral for his sister's sake. Understanding that this will be their escape attempt, the siblings start to prepare. Paris quietly gets into a closet in the home with an Alexei mask while they start gathering valuables. Anna picks up a cigarette box to take with her, strangely not wanting Alexei to touch it. Alexei realizes that their father's document, must be in it, and it crashes to the floor as they struggle over it. Inside, there's a small music player, which Alexei grabs, heading to the phone to call Petrovich. Paris, as Alexei comes out of hiding, putting Alexei in the closet after Jim knocks him out. Jim admits to a confused Anna that he is an American agent as well, and she's enraged at being used by all sides. But Jim says he was telling her the truth, and he does care about her. Security men watch as the three arrive at the funeral home and sit in a side parlor. Barney brings in the coffin, tosses a package into the parlor as agents watch on. The Kirkoskas pay their respects. Anna heads to the restroom. In the hallway, Anna switches places with Dana and hides under the coffin. Jim pumps air into Barney's package, which is a balloon of himself, so he can sneak out as well. Jim and Anna get into Barney's hearse, obscured by the coffin, and Dana beckons the funeral director, with Paris knocking him out. When there is no activity for a while, Petrovich tells his man to go have a closer look. Paris, as Alexei tells him that Anna has escaped, with Dana and Jim's sister taking her place. Petrovich arrives, telling soldier Willie to take Dana and Alexei to headquarters, while he goes after the hearse. Down the road, Barney releases the trunk, and a hot rod emerges, with Jim and Anna speeding towards the border. Because the car is so low, it's able to go under the border gate and escape, as a dismayed Petrovich can only watch. Jim says she's free, but Anna feels distraught and lost because she's left everything behind. Jim says he'll wait for her to get her life and her mind and identity settled to see what their relationship will become. Mission accomplished. I'm going to give this episode a grade of a D+. I gave the same grade to the previous episode, Butterfly. And I think that this one is right there alongside Butterfly in terms of quality. So let's just discuss some of the main points as usual. What's good about this episode? A few things, a few scenes are neat. The first one I noticed is, and I'd completely forgotten about this until I watched it again, is in the middle of the episode there is that brief scene where Paris is being trailed by Petrovich's security men. And, you know, he turns a corner, and Willie is able to hide him behind a big box that he's loading into a truck. And then Paris, you know, changes his appearance quite quickly, gets rid of, you know, the facial hair and all of that, and, you know, is able to lose the security guys. I thought that was pretty neat. I also liked in the final act the way that the IMF pulls the switcheroo in the funeral parlor, you know, by exchanging Anna with Dana and, you know, having the kind of the blow-up balloon of Jim. That was neat. And, the ending road chase, which was a lot briefer than I actually remember it being, was also quite neat. Neat idea, you know, for the IMF to kind of plan and be aware of how big or how high a car could be to actually get under that gate so that the escape could be done. Visually, all that is kind of neat. Some interesting notes that I wanted to throw out there. Julie Gregg, of course, returns as Anna in this episode. We saw her last season, actually as the guest agent in The Amnesiac, and I commented in that one that she was quite good. She's a fine actress. There's certainly no doubt about that. And she plays the piano again. I guess she really can play the piano. If you recall, in The Amnesiac, she went in as a piano player there as well. Also neat, we get Paul Stevens again, who is an old standby. And it occurred to me that in every episode Paul Stevens is in, he has somebody, impersonates, and some IMF member basically becomes his character. It happened in The Council in Season 2. It happened in The Cardinal in Season 3. So twice, basically, Roland Hand became Paul Stevens. And now Leonard Nimoy essentially became Paul Stevens. And he's actually in another episode in Season 6, and a similar thing will happen. You'll see that. So it's just kind of funny how that works. It really is. To me, anyway. Also, good old Michael Strong is back, just to kind of round out the guest stars. Fine guest stars, fine actors, definitely. And we see him as Petrovich. We actually haven't seen him in a while, but again, fine actor, really fits this show well. Moving on, though, to kind of turn the page away from that, I'll just say with regards to the guest stars, the actors and actress, as I mentioned, are perfectly fine. But the characters, not so much. The characters are very, very, very one-dimensional. And frankly, The characters of Alexei and Petrovich as the antagonists in this episode are really, really, really lame. They're overmatched. They're not formidable at all. Pretty easily fooled and manipulated. Petrovich badly, and Alexei even worse. There is some teamwork. It's a decent it's a decent plot the way that the IMF has laid it out. Obviously, they did some very, very careful planning, but the teamwork is unbalanced. Jim is really kind of in the forefront. Paris has a significant role as well, but the others are really just kind of a supporting cast. So I didn't really like that very, very much at all. Also, really, really, really bad, and this is why I certainly can't give it any more than a D+. The romance subplot between Jim and Anna is really, really, really lame. Like, almost on the border of the episode that shall not be named. Lover's Knot. There, I said it. There just really doesn't seem to be anything there between Peter Graves and Julie Gregg. It seems completely tacked on. It seems completely filler to me. The dialogue between them is horribly strained and dumb. In the middle of the episode, like, I just cringed when Julie Gregg says, "Love me, Paul." Jim's character's name is Paul. "Love me, Paul. I need you to love me." I was just like, come on, this is stupid. And frankly, the whole thing, any of the emotion that they're trying to convey seems so obviously fake and strained from both sides. Do you really believe that Jim says, "No, Anna, I really, really love you"? And Anna is like, "Oh, Jim, you know, I love you too." It's like, I just don't buy it. I really, really, really don't buy it at all. It's completely, completely unconvincing at every level to me. Another thing that occurred to me is that this is, interestingly enough, an old school Mission Impossible story. This is the kind of story that would have fit very nicely in season 2 or 3. All of the elements of, you know, those episodes, which, you know, again, a lot of fans, and it's perfectly fine to feel this way, say that, you know, well, those were generally the best episodes and that was the best MI formula. Well, you know, all of that is here. The team goes to what is ostensibly a foreign country. They enter the country through different methods. You know, they conduct their mission in, you know, moving from all sorts of different sides. They use a lot of the standard methodology by pulling switcheroos and manipulation and things like that. And I think it's really, it's good in a way that the producers did this. Take from it what you will. Here's what I take from it. I see this as a testament to the idea that, you know, the producers are saying that, okay, you know what, here's the old formulaic type of episode, right? With all of the features that I mentioned, the foreign intrigue, the stock foreign baddies, all of that kind of stuff. And they're showing that, you know what, here we are, we're putting it out there again, and it's not that great, is it, right? With the idea saying we can't keep doing that forever. We have to mix up and adjust the formula a little bit. And that's something that I have been saying with a lot of these episodes in season 5. I tend to agree that old stock formula could not have been used forever. Some people may attribute this to the idea that, well, it worked when we had Martin Landau and Barbara Bing. Okay, I can understand if you feel that way. It's perfectly valid to feel that way, and nobody, least of all me, is going to say that Martin Landau and Barbara Bing are not a fantastic actor and actress in their own right. Certainly, I agree. So I understand that attribution, that they were the ones who really made these even formulaic episodes good. I understand how you feel that way. You could feel that way, but I don't necessarily agree. Even if Landau and Bane had been in this episode, and frankly, this episode, I mean, I could find one from season 2 or 3 to compare this with. It probably wouldn't be that difficult. I think that I would probably say that it would get this grade, or it would get a very, very similar grade. I really think so. You can go back and you can look at episodes from season 2 and 3, and I gave those ones grades in the D plus, C minus level, and I pointed out where those episodes had flaws and where they weren't terribly good. Nothing to do with the actors or the actresses necessarily. More about, specific plot points. I've been trying to be as objective as possible with that. And just to say that, you know what, if we judge an episode on its merits, you'll find good episodes in these later seasons, and you'll find bad episodes even in those seasons which we look back on fondly. That's just how it is. That's just what I feel. Anyway, like I said, I am very, very glad that this kind of came out so I could kind of expand on that point. And this is, and as I mentioned, I think this is a really, really good example of how, maybe we should rethink how we feel about the so-called classic MI formula. And I think that's about it. Thank you all as always for watching. Please like this episode review. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and please leave your comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this episode. I know people have a lot of solid feelings either way. So thanks again, and I'll see you next time.